gentlemen, it is men's singles qualifier. It is CHUANG Chih-Yuan versus JEOUNG Youngsik.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Seamaster Qatar 2016 ITTF World Tour Grand Finals. Coming to you live from Doha, Qatar. I'm Adam Bobrow, and with me, Johnny Cowan. How you doing, Johnny?
Hey, Adam. I'm doing good. You?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to work with you again. It's been some time.
It has indeed. It's good to be back in here with you, and what a fantastic scene here in this brilliant venue. Fantastic use of lights. Really give it a really high-quality effect here. Put these players on a pedestal on the World Tour.
Yeah, the presentation's beautiful, great stadium. And speaking of siblings in the corner from our last match, JEOUNG Chih-Yuan's brother in his corner, and there's his signature edge tape, the very short edge tape there. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan is, and this is fascinating to me, Samsonov at 40 years old played his 15th World Tour Grand Finals just yesterday. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan, though, playing his 17th World Tour Grand Finals. 17! We have players here at this tournament who haven't had 17 years of life yet.
Incredible career, huh?
Just amazing. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan at 35 years old, still in the top 10. Currently world ranked number 9. The 5th seed, has been the dominant player from Chinese Taipei for a good decade and a half. He's been leading the squad. On the other side of the table, JEOUNG Youngsik from Korea, recently passing by Joo Se-hyuk after winning in Korea in the final, taking the title in 2015 at the Korean Open, also winning the Australia Open in 2015. JEOUNG Youngsik currently world ranked number 10, 12th seed in this tournament at 24 years old. Yesterday, had quite a performance to get here. Very quick off the bounce. Jun Mizutani. I mean, it's pretty rare for anyone to beat Jun Mizutani, who's not one of the big four from the Chinese national team.
That was a thriller, right? 4-3 all the way to 11-9 in the 7th. But this guy's played some stuff this year. He was outstanding in Rio at the Olympics, and he's just got stronger and stronger, as you say, beating his compatriot in one of the World Tours there. And this will be really interesting for me how he gets on here against JEOUNG Chih-Yuan.
Absolutely, for me too. You mentioned, and just in case you didn't see him in Rio at the Olympics, he played an outstandingly close match against Ma Long. Even though it was 4-2, it felt like it could have gone either way for some time. And then after giving Ma Long some stress and pressure on his way to the gold medal, he played Zhang Jike in the teams, and it was a 2-3 loss, but it was so tight that the Chinese, the CTTA said, hey, why don't you come play the Super League? So it'll be a chance for fans to enjoy his performance, a chance for the Chinese national team to get a little bit more familiar with this potential threat standing tall in blue. As far as threats go, one of the greatest threats to the Chinese in the last several years, the last, I guess, decade and a half, Yu Sung-min, the Olympic gold medalist from 2004, just sort of showed up and ended up in the corner for JEOUNG Youngsik yesterday for his win over Jun Mizutani, and of course is back in the corner. When it comes to footwork, I don't think I've seen someone with better footwork than Yu Sung-min. I mean, you have to be if you're only using one side of the racket. You know, a forehand from deep in the backhand corner and chasing the next one down.
Yeah, amazing. I saw him last night, said hello. He was in good form at the Seamaster ITTF Star Awards. Of course, recently became part of the IOC Athletes Commission, right? So fantastic for him and for table tennis.
Speaking of outstanding for table tennis, so for those of you who didn't see it, Johnny was hosting last night at the ITTF Star Awards, and it was quite a scene between some speeches in English or some more in-depth words in Chinese to Laurence Devos from Belgium winning the male para table tennis Star Award. There was just all sorts of excitement.
And of course our Arabic friends as well. It was fantastic.
That's right. Now, what a beautiful venue. If you haven't seen it, when you're finished with today's broadcast, make sure you go on ITTF.com/ITTV and check out the ITTF Star Awards for fun selfies, pictures, and other promotional stuff. Facebook Live. Check out the official Facebook page, International Table Tennis Federation. They'll make sure that you get your full feeding of table tennis hunger. So JEOUNG Youngsik will start off in this best of 7. Love all. Oh, the forehand flick from over the table. When you're this height, you've got the reach. It's really important to be able to take advantage in the short game. We saw it with Dima, the most successful forehand flips I've seen this tournament. Now, JEOUNG Chih-Yuan, he's got the speed. He plays at the Chinese pace. So I think it'll be a real test for both players out here.
Solid backhand to backhand. You were saying earlier, Adam, you know, the time that CHUANG Chih-Yuan spent on the World Tour and 17 times Grand Finals. It's an incredible career, 35. I just find that, you know, as he's pushing on his years, how can he sustain it through tournaments like this, you know, when you're playing 4 or 5 big matches? Sometimes he's not been at his peak. I've seen him this year. He's not really been firing all cylinders. Back thinking of London 2012 where he was on fire. And as you get older, I guess the consistency is the challenge. But 17 times, and he won it, of course, in 2002 in Stockholm. So he's a seasoned campaigner for Grand Finals.
And it might have been both you and myself on this match, but the best match of 2014 for me was CHUANG Chih-Yuan versus JEOUNG Youngsik in Tokyo at the World Championships. I mean, what a fighter.
That was a great match. The other thing for me is he's got the right build for me to be able to stay a long time in the game. Okay, Vladimir too, he's a bit taller, but he's a very economical player, Vladimir.
Right.
By contrast, CHUANG Chih-Yuan, his game is so explosive, his shoulder, and so to have sustained himself for so long is really quite impressive.
Yeah, it's funny, he does have more of a typical table tennis build. I think how you use your body, as you mentioned, you know, Samsonov being quite tall and lanky has managed to build a game around his physique. And this is true. It's like you work with what you have, you know. You learn, it's just like if your forehand is stronger, you learn how to egg people on so that they can't avoid it. CHUANG Chih-Yuan is in incredible shape. I think earlier in the year at Qatar, we had a workout session. Maybe some flash photography here. Trying to anticipate. Oh, I'm sorry, they have someone in the corner of the court right now. Fixing the exit is what it is. Someone had opened up the barrier. Oh, it was a cameraman trying to get a shot from floor level who had actually opened up the gate to the court. Understandable, you've got to have every bit of focus. You don't want to worry about a peeper coming in there in the corner. Some guy who's poked a hole in the barrier down low.
So solid start here from CHUANG, 5-2. Seems to have been in a little bit of a rhythm. JEOUNG Youngsik, once he finds his rhythm too, as we were saying earlier on, can be explosive. So early stages, both players a few errors, but let's see how they edge their way into their rhythm here.
Clever idea, tries to go inside out down the line, just missing. It's going to be a low percentage shot. But showing that he's not afraid. Sometimes even if you miss the point, obviously you want to win every point you can. It just adds some danger to your opponent. They know that they, you know, can't put it past you, that you're willing to take the risk. I know you mentioned CHUANG Chih-Yuan about having some tough losses. This year he also had some very big wins. I mean, he beat Xu Xin. Xu Xin, it was almost unspoken of for a foreigner to beat Xu Xin. In Hong Kong at the Olympic trials, he beat Xu Xin. And then Jun Mizutani comes back to do the same in the Olympic team competition. And for Jun Mizutani, it was quite a big deal after losing from 10-4, having 6 match points, losing 8 in a row to Xu Xin. So CHUANG Chih-Yuan's had his ups and downs, took the first world title of the year, Hungarian Open to start off 2016.
It's great aggressive play though from the Korean. He's got himself right back in this first game. Watch how he comes over that table. Acceleration of the wrist, technically superb.
Right, and as far as builds go, body type, I think many of us fans of table tennis remember Oh Sang-un quite well. Someone who looked like he was just relaxing while he was playing, like he wasn't trying, but he used his whip-like wrist and the lanky backhand, very similar to the way that JEOUNG Youngsik has actively done so far in this match.
So both of these players in the top of the draw, along with the matchup next, Ma Long and Wang Chun-ting. Both will contest then, both winners in the semi-final.
So both of these players playing in the Chinese Super League, which is a very small group of players, non-Chinese players in the Chinese Super League. It's quite an honor to be there. The best practice anyone can get. Almost a surreal practice. You're really playing against a whole different level. Timing, speed, counters. It's tough to have a winning record in the Chinese Super League for an outsider, but Dmitry Ovtcharov actually did it for 2 years straight, had a winning record, 2013 and 2014. And in his career has a winning record despite having a rough 2015 in the Chinese Super League. Now, I actually refer to JEOUNG Chih-Yuan as the Suge Knight of table tennis because he never smiles. If you want to see him smile, check out his Ask a Pro Anything. He's a ball of laughs in person. Pretty hilarious guy, but on court, what a gangster.
It's a great combination. He seems to be serving short into JEOUNG Youngsik's forehand, away from that dangerous backhand of his. Watch how he then attacks the ball on the backhand, round on the side. He's mixing it up, attacks the Korean's forehand. Emerging tactic, keeping it away from the dangerous JEOUNG backhand.
That definitely seems to be the pattern. I think only so many times you can get beaten by a shot before you recognize the adjustments have to be made. One thing I love about Juani's game is that he keeps up the pace. He's not afraid to open with the backhand, nor is he afraid to step around and then chase the next ball out wide.
He's certainly quick enough to do it. It's a close opening game here in this first men's singles quarterfinal.
Big point to save from 9-9, now has 2 game points here. And on the receive, too, to break the serve of JEOUNG Youngsik. I mean, different sports, the server has different levels of advantage, but in table tennis, still, you're the first shot of the rally. You have more control to dictate how the point will go.
Will he serve into the forehand again? Is this the emerging tactic? Short backspinner float into the Korean's forehand. Oh, it was kind of mid-table.
Looked like he was trying to.
And JEOUNG came round on the backhand. That's his forte.
You might recall the very first, I think it was the first point of the match that JEOUNG Youngsik came in. If it wasn't the first, maybe the second, but that forehand flip kills. So if you leave it short on the forehand side, unless it's really low, even still, you might not set up a third ball for yourself because it's so easy to keep short. Backhand pays off again, fully steps around to the forehand side, and the effort pays off for JEOUNG Youngsik, but still the game isn't over. Saves 2 game points.
Just look how far round on the forehand he goes. Look how far that ball is. Many coaches in the world would say that should be your forehand because it's on that half of the table. I guess the majority of people would agree, but if you've got a backhand so powerful like that and you can attack it in that way, then why not?
Ooh, surprise serve. I think the modern game, Johnny, you know, we're seeing a lot of the top players in the world, the whole banana flick epidemic, if you will, where they'll run all the way around the forehand side because on a short serve, it's so difficult to generate spin with the forehand, but the backhand, you can get so much more wrist. I think that's what JEOUNG Chih-Yuan was planning to do on the point before this when he got burned with that fast, long serve to the backhand. There is some rock, paper, scissor element to this where you're predicting almost like what the receiver thinks is coming. As the server, you have to think, what do I expect that the receiver expects? I'm going to give him a surprise out here, something different.
This time JEOUNG Chih-Yuan goes round on his forehand with the backhand. Both players extremely pumped up for this one.
And this is the physical fitness we were talking about. He comes all the way in for the backhand on the forehand side. The most common shot to follow up is deep to the backhand, but he's right there, quickly back and ready for this counter backhand. Fired up, the fighter is ignited. Listen to that and look at the muscles pumping right now. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan thrilled to get through game 1. He's on fire. A 13-11 game 1, and we'll be back for game 2. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan versus JEOUNG Youngsik right after this. As the players come back for game 2, JEOUNG Youngsik, the tall Korean in blue, against CHUANG Chih-Yuan, the top player from Taiwan, from Chinese Taipei, checking out the toss, making sure the air in the room is good, and he knows where the ball will come down. Real fight to take game 1.
Yeah, fascinating opening game in this first men's singles quarterfinal. Seamaster Qatar 2016 ITTF World Tour Grand Finals right here in Doha. Fascinating to see how JEOUNG Youngsik there in the blue tries to work to get that big backhand of his in over the table. Meantime, you'll see the player from Chinese Taipei trying to expose the forehand side of his opponent, particularly on the short serves, Adam, just in there.
Right. And you'd mentioned earlier how it's a lot like a chess match. That was quite interesting, watching the players really trying to size up their opponents and play a game that's not only reactive, but sort of blocks off or weakens their opponents.
Yeah, the margins are so thin out there. That first opening game went to juice, 13-11. The margins in those moments are so thin that any tactic or any little advantage, any change-up you mentioned as well, whether it be a longer serve, can be crucial. But for both these players, I'm thinking one of the key things that they both have to focus on, and the one player that may pull this off the most, may be the victorious one, is the speed between over the table and mid-table, because they're moving the ball so quickly on the flicks. You mentioned CHUANG Chih-Yuan. He flicked one from the forehand, but he was right back in the backhand corner.
Look at this!
Oh!
Was watching the whole time. This ball could come down. And CHUANG Chih-Yuan comes around the table completely. He has to go the right way. If he goes the wrong way for this ball before he commits and at the last moment hits it out of the court. And sometimes you'll hear someone ask a question who's a little newer to the sport. Are you allowed to come around the net? The answer is yes. You can stand on your opponent's side, stand wherever you need to hit it. If you're not intentionally blocking or obstructing your opponent's movement, it's actually your responsibility to make sure you get to that ball.
It was almost like a moment in the exhibition with Jean-Michel save there.
Right, yes, if you haven't seen it, I was talking about how CHUANG Chih-Yuan is the Suge Knight of table tennis. On court, no smiles, all fight. But watch him versus Jean-Michel save. It was a match to an invitational tournament in Taiwan. The funniest table tennis match I've seen in my life. Jean-Michel save recently retired, but an outstanding showman. There's a lot of great things for table tennis in Belgium and around the world. But yeah, as far as freedom to come around the net, if CHUANG Chih-Yuan is able to, he can even hit it so that it's down at his opponent's side of the table, back to where he started from. Rare to see in a match.
CHUANG Chih-Yuan did well there. He came in for the short flick. You see it here again, and then moved beautifully. He got that ball in on the diagonal on the forehand. But JEOUNG just upped the tempo here on that one, down the line, parallel. Fantastic forehand topspin. Difficult to do at that speed. But again, neither player, Adam, getting real momentum. It's a point here, a point there, 2-1, one lost, remaining really close.
And this is what makes it so exciting. We've got two of the top 10 players in the world really pushing each other to play their best against the toughest. I mean, if there was too much momentum for one player until the other one comes back, I mean, this is what motivates such high level of play and such fight, really. This is the intensity that you want to see, the unpredictability of who will win. And yesterday, for me, on paper, looking at the lineup, the match with Junmi Zutani was the one that I was most excited to see, that seemed the most unpredictable. That is this match for me today. Again, we talked about JEOUNG Youngsik having the year of his career, and since 2015 taking the Korean Open, he's just really jumped leaps and bounds, and CHUANG Chih-Yuan has been a staple for Chinese Taipei. He's been top 10 in the world on and off for a long time now.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting over the next sort of 12 months, Adam. JEOUNG Youngsik, how he can push, and if he is getting that exposure in the Chinese Super League, how that'll improve his game, and whether JEOUNG Chih-Yuan can sustain it for yet another season. Fascinating in both of these players' careers.
Yeah, when you get up there, I mean, 35 at this level of play, is up there in the sport. A lot of people ask, when do you peak? And it depends what country you play for. I tend to say somewhere around 26 years old, 25, 26. And that's definitely true if you're playing for the Chinese national team. You don't see too many players playing into their 30s. A rare occasion, I think Wang Hao, maybe. Other than that, but if you're playing for Europe, if you left China to play for another country, it's a different story. I mean, Ni Xiaolian's my favorite example. At 53 years old, still the top in Luxembourg. Wouldn't be surprised to see her playing in the Olympic Games at 57. That'd be something. And then He Jiuan, too, from Spain, Juanito, as they call him. I mean, also right in that age range.
Both played very well in Rio as well.
That's right.
So fine margins again here. Again, it's the short serve to the forehand from CHUANG Chih-Yuan. Look how he executes that, but follows it up over the table with that forehand of his. 1 point advantage at 7-6.
Yeah, backhand to backhand is going to be a tough fight to pick for CHUANG Chih-Yuan. And notice the receive difference here. The point before, the short serve to the forehand, JEOUNG Youngsik took for the banana flip, but it left open the deep backhand corner. And this is the most classic combination in the modern game. Serve short to the forehand, bring them in for the backhand, and then hit it deep to their backhand. But JEOUNG Youngsik changed up the pattern here, took the point.
That is a wonderful backhand down the line.
Yeah, really a high-risk shot here, confidently taken by JEOUNG Youngsik. Redirecting from this angle, you get a nice clean look. Boom, just redirects, keeps the wrist back to open it up, crosses the ball, gotta love it. Dios mío, what a point. Running
Awesome.
it down, a chop from CHUANG Chih-Yuan, and he still gets the next forehand into play. Just incredible test of fitness out here. He's so fast on his feet. 35 years old. This is why all the running and the weightlifting that he does pays off and keeps him in the game.
But look at the domination of JEOUNG over the table with that backhand of his once again. Created the attacking opportunity with his forehand. Deadly on the backhand. Here he goes again. Sam. Oh, he's come back. CHUANG Chih-Yuan, fantastic.
Let's see if they replay this, though. I mean, the ball cracked. It hit the edge of the racket. If the ball was broken and the ball was still, if it was broken before the point of contact, yeah, for me, the point is CHUANG Chih-Yuan's. He won it. The ball cracked at the point it hit the edge of the racket.
There it is.
No question about that. I completely agree with CHUANG Chih-Yuan on that.
Yeah, it was already gone, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that the point was missed because the ball was broken. It was the ball broke because it was mishit and the point was lost. That's how I see it.
I agree.
I think that's how the umpires and CHUANG Chih-Yuan see it. Both players out here are quite fair, but it is a judgment call every time. Sometimes when you don't get the call on something, it fires you up a little bit more. You'll see that a lot when there's a big crowd. I know it's still a work day here in Qatar, but as the stadium starts to fill throughout the tournament, if there's ever a call that the fans tend to disagree with, when that person, the player who was on the wrong end of the call, gets the next point, the crowd gets up behind him real quickly. 2 game points here for JEOUNG Youngsik to even up the score. Well played the inside-out forehand, and again the physical fitness to come all the way in for the backhand over the table and get right back to the middle for the step-around forehand. CHUANG Chih-Yuan's forehand to JEOUNG Youngsik's backhand. It's going to be a tough battle, but CHUANG Chih-Yuan's forehand, I think, is going to win a little bit more of the time, and it did there. Out of all the different ways that players handle lets, you'll see a lot of them put a hand up and keep the ball in play until it's been announced. That was an unusual one, just to let it drop. guess he heard the umpire say it. I mentioned it yesterday, but JEOUNG Youngsik has served more let serves probably than any player I can think of. He's just so consistently low to the net, but they're catching the top of the net. He doesn't make many service errors at all. Look at this, 2 game points saved by Juani here. We're at deuce in game 2.
I mean, their head-to-heads in history wouldn't suggest that this should necessarily be close. 5-1 in favor of CHUANG Chih-Yuan, but actually 1-1 in 2016. So that levels the playing field again. And right here, it's going to the wire. Second juice out of 2 games.
And this is definitely, you know, when you look at their age, I mean, right now, JEOUNG Youngsik is on his way up. CHUANG Chih-Yuan is fighting to stay at the level he's been at for some time. And fighting he definitely is. I mean, just at the end of game 1 as well, he was screaming, pumping his fist, and working so hard. And there's a lot of conversation about the legs of Fan Zhendong, Zhang Jiko, but look at the leg muscle on CHUANG Chih-Yuan for every move out here. And I mentioned it before, I'll say it again. I tried to keep up with him on a workout in Qatar earlier in the year and was sort of like, peace, I'm out of here, can't keep up. Like, maybe halfway into the workout. Well played on the body. Beautiful shot, jamming him into the corner, and as you said, a great start taking the first 2 games. We'll see what JEOUNG Youngsik has to say about it. Game 3 coming up right after this.
So a great start by the elder of the 2 players here, the 35-year-old from Chinese Taipei. 2 juice games to get us started here. Very, very important for the older player, in my opinion. Let's see how JEOUNG Youngsik responds here, Adam. He's starting with the serve, game 3.
And he's played a lot of 7-game matches in his career. In the last 2 years of his life, I think he's played more 7-gamers than many players I've seen. Actually in the Middle East as well, here in the Gulf. I think it was 2015. He had some, might have been with Samsonov, an incredible 7-gamer. He played a lot more off the table then than he does now. Anytime the ball went out to the forehand, he'd end up getting in some long rallies. But as you've seen and as you've called out, the backhand of JEOUNG Youngsik is so fluid and so dominant. As long as he can keep CHUANG Chih-Yuan in the backhand-to-backhand battle. While that happened here, it was still a bit of help off the top of the net in favor of JEOUNG Youngsik.
Yeah, and CHUANG Chih-Yuan just needs to make sure he keeps the pressure on here. He can't afford to let JEOUNG start to swing on that backhand and dominate from all over the table. Otherwise, the Korean will grow in confidence. Good service, again short to the Korean's forehand, but couldn't quite get the backhand where he wanted it. That'll go down as an unforced error, I would imagine. It's fast and furious on the backhand diagonal.
Yeah, this is definitely one of his strengths. To me, it's so impressive. CHUANG Chih-Yuan is just so used to taking the fast pace of play and giving it back. His timing is so good. It's Chinese Super League level. While CHUANG Chih-Yuan has a good amount of power, knowing how to use your opponent's power and time it just right to give it back to them can be very useful, especially if someone's taken a long stroke and they're going to have a slower recovery time. So in all the thrilling matches we've had so far, this could be the turning point for JEOUNG Youngsik. Actually, in the last match for our women, it was Ju-Yu just before. With an incredible turnaround. Chang Yi-Ching taking the first 2 games, and then Ju-Yu making her case. For me, this match is still far from over.
There's that backhand again, and he knows it, Chuang. Got to keep mixing the serve up, keep JEOUNG guessing where he's placing the serve, so he doesn't always have the opportunity to play that venomous backhand attack. Equally for JEOUNG, here he goes. He too serving quite a lot into the Chuang's forehand. So interesting to see how both players keep to the same service routines, or maybe start changing things around a little bit.
Yeah, you can't imagine they're going to stick with it too long, just because once things get predictable, it becomes too easy. People start setting up the plans. See a long serve here, fast into the backhand every once in a while. Keep people honest, keep them guessing. Quite an impressive backhand on both sides. CHUANG Chih-Yuan putting the finishing power on. So smooth on those backhands, it just looks effortless from him.
It's a great camera angle though. Look how neither player concedes any space on the floor, right? They're staying right up to the table, taking punch for punch at that speed. For those people watching, from club players to international players, you know, try not to concede any space around the table.
That's absolutely right. It's almost like a game of chicken. Who's going to break first? We saw it a lot in the Ju-Yu match, where they'd go backhand to backhand, and finally at the last moment, Ju-Yu would break it out to Chang Yi-Ching's forehand. But only at the point that she thought that Chang Yi-Ching was about to turn and was going to open up the space. You know, it's funny you mentioned club players and different camera angles and views. I don't know if you saw on ITTF's website the talk about virtual reality. This is the coolest thing I've read, that you can actually, I can't wait to see it. It's almost tough for me to imagine that you can watch the match from anywhere, even if you're at home. You could watch from the VIP seats, you could watch from a cameraman's angle or a coach's seat or the commentator's booth if you so desired. Which is funny, because from where we're sitting, we're actually watching the same thing as you at home, just staring at the TV.
Yeah, in virtual reality then you'll be able to go to the next level and play in the arena.
Table tennis players, catch them all. Wow, yeah, still just what the world has ahead of us, Johnny. The developments that have been made already, there's a lot happening in table tennis. There's a lot more on the way.
It's exciting times for the fans, that's for sure, and for everyone involved. JEOUNG Youngsik here, now he is really pushing forward in game 3 here. First backhand missed, I think, in the game from either player, certainly on the receive. But JEOUNG, no missing this time. Watch how he comes round again. Speed of the acceleration on the wrist. There we see it. Generates a lot of power and spin. Compared to perhaps a little weakness on the forehand flick, so you can start to get an appreciation of why he likes to take it on the backhand.
And this is definitely, technically, something that is true of almost anybody's game. It's just more difficult to generate spin on the forehand from over the table.
Super rally to finish game 3. Gives a pump fist there to the crowd, to the coach. Watch this again here on the replay. Wonderful backhand topspin, but CHUANG Chih-Yuan still leading 2-1. So scores on the screen there. JEOUNG Youngsik wins game 3, 11-6, pulls one back. Let's see how the 35-year-old world number 9, CHUANG Chih-Yuan, responds here now, Adam.
Yeah, we were talking before about the caliber of play and the speed on both sides of the table. I was just trying to double check and remember, because 2015, my memory said that Zhuang Zhiyuan beat Zhang Jike at the China Open. Now looking head to head, Zhuang Zhiyuan actually has a winning record over Zhang Jike. He's 3-2, and this is from 2002 in Japan all the way through 2015. Many of those around the time that Zhang Jike became world champion. Perfectly placed in on the body. Looked like JEOUNG Youngsik was saying, hit your shirt. If that happens, the point automatically over. Seen that on a few occasions where someone gives up the point.
Just find it so technically fascinating how JEOUNG Youngsik, because he's quite a tall lad, and watch how his back's reasonably straight, so his distance from his eyes to the racket is quite far, but the feeling that he has on the racket over the table, and I guess he's practiced that thousands and thousands of times, it just becomes automatic.
Right, it's funny how that works, that players can learn. I mean, we've seen some unusual styles over the years. I mean, you know, you've got more classic style like Juanito in Spain, you know, He-Juan, or Thomas Kyneth, for example, is a very unusual style, but he's so effective with it. This time a bit of help off the top of the net. JEOUNG Youngsik with the break. Let's look at this one more time here. Covers the middle well. Again, a taller player has a bigger middle to cover. They tend to use the backhand as it's less expensive, takes less time. Frustration for JEOUNG Youngsik. Very tight serve in on the forehand. It's going to be a tough ball to take with the backhand.
What's interesting is that at some stage in these matches you see a period where one of the players plays their middle game a little bit more. We haven't seen it yet. Both players are going flat out for these backhands over the table. They're both wrestling for that advantage. At some point you just sense that a middle game might be required. I just wonder who that might be.
Like from an energy conservation standpoint?
Yeah,
right.
Just to change it up. Let's not go for the fast opener all the time. Let's mix it slightly.
Right. From a physical fitness standpoint, they both can take it the entire time. But I think tactically, that's a very interesting point. Just to change it up. Again, breaking the pattern, not letting anyone get too settled or letting your game get too predictable.
Because there we see it again. It's the fast. Who's looking for the fast ball over the table? But we know that table tennis obviously includes a lot of spin and guile and angles. And I don't know, maybe there are more options for these guys within this game.
Right. I think also it's so clear that typically whoever gets the first attack in has the advantage, so it's important to come out swinging if you can. Ooh la la, catches the edge. JEOUNG Youngsik with the faint edge. Look at this one more time. He squats to the ground to counter one of these shots. There's the one. That was a pose. That looked like a breakdancing move. He popped up with one foot behind the other. Can't believe he came back from it so quickly, keeps his balance, and especially as a tall, limber guy, I guess lanky guy who proves himself to be quite limber.
That was unfortunate for JEOUNG Chih-Yuan. I thought he'd done a great sequence there when he played the second backhand down the line. Again, we're talking about elements of changing it up, and that was a great change, but it wasn't to be.
Right, and score-wise, this is a big, you know, you're looking at a 4-point lead instead of a 2-point lead, which is now 5. It's mentally very tough, very demanding. You come out winning the first 2 games. Someone has quite a dominant game 3 over you. And if they win in game 4 as well, trying to break that rhythm, this is one of many reasons it helps to have an outsider giving you some perspective, whether it's your brother, JEOUNG Chih-Yuan, in the corner telling you what's happening, or an Olympic gold medalist. Just
It's
an outside
difficult
view.
to get, you know, it in perspective. If you're 2-0 up and you come back to 2-2, then actually you're back at 0-0. So, you know, some psychologists would say, look, you're just back to the start, so start again, because you
Right.
got off to a great start 20 minutes ago, but it's not always easy.
That's well said.
Oh,
Nice. Just jumping on it. The backhand punch, sees the opening on the table, takes advantage. This is an expiring offer here. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan quick to take the sale. Look at it one more time. Wow, he hadn't even set his foot down, just punches it back down the line. Little off the top of the net to help him out, but table tennis karma, the ball is round and it's all coming back.
he's just swinging here, JEOUNG Chih-Yuan. He's just said to himself, I'm going to give this a go here. That's 2 big points.
I can't say enough about his fitness. I'll tell you that one of the first times I saw him in person, 2014 in Tokyo, he was practicing counter looping drills for about 45 minutes before his first match. Non-stop marathon counter and footwork drills. Who does that? That's punishment in, you know, training camp. I guess not punishment. It's all just preparation to come out here and rock and roll, but
Look at this
tight
backhand
match.
again here, Adam. It's right over the table from JEOUNG.
It's definitely his greatest weapon.
That was a good receive from JEOUNG Chih-Yuan. He'd played in JEOUNG Youngsik on the forehand, but again, we've seen that 3 or 4 times now. He just hasn't capitalized. Advantage JEOUNG Youngsik here to make it 2-2.
Ooh, so close. Talked about different times throughout the day when it's wise to play it a little softer, and after sending someone running off the table, softer ball is going to be an uncomfortable shot. JEOUNG Youngsik still almost makes a shot out of it. It's tough with the balance, yeah. Johnny's doing a good impersonation in the booth right now of JEOUNG Youngsik's backhand. And this one will not come down, but he watches just in case before letting out his Chove celebration. And it's now tied up at 2 games each. We'll see who steps into the lead. If JEOUNG Chih-Yuan can grab the wheel again, or if JEOUNG Youngsik is in the driver's seat, game 5 right after this.
So 2 games all in this first men's singles quarterfinal. Really intriguing now. Let's see how this gets underway, Adam. Game 5.
Yeah, Johnny and I were talking. Actually, we still have Paul Hand in the room keeping us company for conversation, just talking about physical fitness and how demanding JEOUNG Chih-Yuan's game is. Out of the 35-year-olds in the game, JEOUNG Chih-Yuan playing like one of the young Chinese players. And even, I'd say, a lot of the Japanese young players, too. Yuya Oshima, Kenta Matsudaira, just running around and looping. Ball's broken, you could hear it. Second to last shot from JEOUNG Chih-Yuan, that was the moment. They both softened up for a minute.
Game ball number 3.
I was talking to Paul the other day. I know Paul has a long history with tennis as well, so how many balls are used in tennis and how long it will be before table tennis has the same traditions. As far as the expense of a ball, not too expensive. Why not rotate in all the time? Yeah, that one looks okay. Just give it a try. Just play a few more with it, see what happens. That's one, I think there are some delicacies in certain countries where they pour soup in there, right? You get a spoon, and that's what that ball looked like to me. There's a little minced pork inside with some spices. That's, surprise, guys, you just thought it was a regular table tennis ball. Still the first point here of game 5. That's actually the bread and butter for JEOUNG Chih-Yuan, the step around forehand there. But because JEOUNG Youngsik plays it deep enough into the backhand corner, a little on the body, it's a tough shot for Chuang. Now, Johnny, you and I were talking about momentum and mental toughness, how tough it is to come back, but you were saying a lot like in points in any game, that if it's 9-9, sometimes think of it as 4-4, 0-0, or anything. So this is a 0-0 start if you're playing first one to win 2 games. It's,
Absolutely.
Putting the past behind you.
So, CHUANG Chih-Yuan should reflect on what his mental state was at 0-0, first point of the match, because he raced off to a 2-0 lead. He just needs to try and create that energy again.
Right, it's funny you say that. I was thinking, trying to recreate, it'd be really cool if he could just literally forget. Like, what if he could convince himself? What if he came back to the corner and his brother's like, hey, by the way, match is starting over, it's 0-0, and it's the best 2 out of 3. He's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. Oh, wow, that's crazy. I didn't know they do that. He's like, yeah, well, they do, so now play.
That'd be one way to go about it.
The hypnotist approach.
Just feel the advantage, and the score tells it. The young 24-year-old JEOUNG Youngsik from the Republic of Korea. I just don't see Chuang trying to change it up anyway. I'm just trying to think back of style of players in the past that would have mixed it up. The Swedes would have been great at this. Jörgen Persson, Jan-Ove Waldner. These 2 guys, maybe it's just not the thing to do these days. These 2 guys are just going at it flat out all the time.
Well, I think the differences are definitely there. They're just more subtle. I think in some of European table tennis, between creativity being rewarded, I mean, you still see it in the French program. If you look at the games of the top players in France right now, you've got people who will hit side spin chops and everything else. Their top players, Simone Gauzy, will receive a backhand with side spin sometimes. I think the way they practice involves a lot more free play, creativity, and fun, really, as opposed to the hard-working, climb to the top. So, yeah, it's definitely more subtle, the differences. But you're right, they are playing very aggressive still, looking for the opportunities. I don't know. I'm trying to think what will reward these players to change the most. I mean, you mentioned early on, and you hit the nail right on the head, JEOUNG Youngsik's backhand is dangerous. I think if JEOUNG Chih-Yuan can play it a little more to the middle of the body and then open up the forehand counterattack. Forehand to forehand, JEOUNG Chih-Yuan is going to have the advantage. He's a little bit faster, shorter strokes. This is exactly what happened here. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan tries, you saw the push out to the long forehand, but watch where JEOUNG Youngsik brings it back, right into the back, and he's like, nah, I'm not gonna play that game. Deal with my backhand, but JEOUNG Chih-Yuan's insistent on staying in the backhand corner using the forehand, still ready to break and cover.
Yes, the other element we see less and less is the ability of players, I guess it's depending on style as well, but to even change the service start point. So maybe even in the middle, maybe do the reverse, or even more so. We might have seen more in the past, the backhand serve, just to change the direction of the ball and just to change the dynamic of a point.
Right. Samsonov does that quite well. He's constantly in a different part of the table. And I feel like there are 2 players, I think Dmitry Ovtcharov, but Ma Long I saw, it might have been against Zhang Jiko, where I saw him start to serve from his backhand more and more. And this is sometimes, it's more important to have control, something that's a little bit handcuffing. Doesn't have to be as spinny or as fancy and flashy. But if it sets up the 3rd ball for you or deters the attack of the receiver, then great, why not do a simple backhand serve? Soft touch, second bounce on the table.
As you say, Adam, it doesn't have to be a special serve in any shape or form, but it just changes the dynamic of the point and throws some extra things for opponents to think about.
That's right.
Break up the rhythm almost, because these 2 guys just seem to be playing fast all the time. It's almost like they're prepared to go through trading blows, and whoever wins the most blows or takes the most blows will be the victor. It's impressive stuff, though, because it's fast, it's furious, it's physically demanding.
Well, I think the thing that is sort of clear is what you mentioned early on. I mean, CHUANG Chih-Yuan's trying to pick the forehand battle, and JEOUNG Youngsik's saying, let's do the backhand. But here he steps around as far as breaking it up. I mean, the pattern that we've seen is just that they know where their strengths are. It's almost like someone's feeding them statistics. It's the money ball of table tennis. Someone says, look, here's how the numbers go. When you play with your forehand, Juani, you win the point. Yu Sung-min's saying to JEOUNG Youngsik, get your backhand into play, backhand to backhand, you're going to win. Ooh, awkward ball. Not sure if that caught a finger, but it came back really funny out to the forehand. Let's look at this one more time. Looked like it might have. Tough to know.
But all square, 2 games all, 7 points each.
Yeah, whoever takes this game is going to have a bit of confidence, a stride to their step, but still stride to their step, but no easy fight. And the shot to the short side. That is a painful thorn in the side for JEOUNG Chih-Yuan. Look at this. Step around. I mean, he took that shot like he was 5'7".
That's a super shot.
Right on the white of the line. To take it still from the body with that long of a wingspan and reach, very difficult. Forehand to forehand battle, and it's squared right back up. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan rebalancing so well. The ball was played on the elbow, just moved quickly. Again, why do you need physical fitness in table tennis? That shot. Among other things, there are tons of things we could point to, but that one clearly. Ooh, a big backhand from deep off the table. Where did this one come from?
Angles as well. Check out here. Round the side of the table.
He was looking for forehand before he just held up the racket. As far as keeping the racket held up. Wow, that was an improvised shot, but still plenty of power on it. Big point for Juani. That's tough for JEOUNG Chih-Yuan. He gets the push exactly where he wants it. Is deep out to the forehand, trying to pick the forehand to forehand battle. Just a little bit late to step wide. That was a net post to net post shot. Watch this. Oh, I guess it was just the top of the net. From the other angle, it looked like it hit post to post.
But then again, was it the different pace of the ball that threw JEOUNG Chih-Yuan there? It was a little bit slower, a little bit angled out the forehand.
Right, could have been a little bit of side spin on it too that made it bend. Sometimes when you take off the speed, you can add a little bit more side spin on the ball. Oh, back edge of the table, a big shot. He was satisfied and about to chow, and he realized it caught the back edge, so he was going to hold it in. It's a risky shot to go for. The short side of the table, leaving open the forehand. This is the nobody's home shot, but I'll go for it. So game point for JEOUNG Chih-Yuan to break the streak after losing the last 2 games to JEOUNG Youngsik. What a solid forehand flip to open, but a big save. JEOUNG Youngsik brings it right back.
Could go either way, this one, Adam. Crucial 5th game.
Let's look at this one more time here.
Look how JEOUNG Youngsik just watch the short arm there. Look, really whippy, short action.
To go from keeping the racket head up and centered to get that short, no backswing stroke is so impressive. Ooh, surprise with the heavy underspin on the pendulum serve. 2 straight points for JEOUNG Youngsik saving and earning. Nobody's shaving out here. He saved a game point and earned a game point for himself. Although he does have very little facial hair, JEOUNG Youngsik. Look at this, pulls it away from down 9-10, 3 points in a row, and keeps up the momentum. 3 games in a row after being down 0-2 in the clean-shaven Korean. JEOUNG Youngsik has a 3-2 lead, game 6 right after this.
So after a great start to this first men's singles quarter-final, CHUANG Chih-Yuan from Chinese Taipei took the first 2 games at him. Then it's the youngster, 24-year-old by comparison. He's won 3 in a row, leads 3-2.
A little bit off the top of the net. You know, for me, it's always interesting, not rooting for either player. I like them both. If JEOUNG Chih-Yuan wins that last game, it shakes things up a bit, keeps things a little bit less predictable, but you never know. We've seen wins here in Game 6 after losing 3 in a row.
I just think that JEOUNG Youngsik, he just seems that little bit more dominant. That backhand, seeing him through again.
Yeah, it's so versatile from way out in front. He even puts a bit of side spin on it sometimes from over the table. And it's tough to, you know, they say live by the sword, die by the sword. It's, people say something and then there's a contradictory saying all the time. JEOUNG Chih-Yuan picking that forehand to forehand battle, he was winning a much greater percentage of points. He's just got to get better footing against JEOUNG Youngsik. If he can get JEOUNG Youngsik off balance, maybe play the middle, then the wide backhand, and then the wide forehand, it's just going to take some real confidence to even feed JEOUNG Youngsik a ball on the backhand side.
It's dominating there on the backhand corner from the Korean.
This could be a product of the Chinese Super League, but having JEOUNG Youngsik cover the middle, he's dangerous, even when he's turned to take a forehand from the middle, which hasn't happened yet in that rally.
It's just so consistent. Again, we talked about earlier the style, the technique. For such a tall lad, watch how he just flicks through on that backhand. The timing, his head's almost not following the ball to the racket. He knows where it's going to be. He just accelerates through.
I'm putting my head in JEOUNG's corner right now. If I'm JEOUNG's coach and brother, why does he keep going? Where's the forehand to forehand battle? That's a start to it. Usually he comes back. I mean, he got the battle he wanted. He hit a big shot, but he just threw everything in. This is, Xu Xin does that a lot, but the quality of Xu Xin's shot, he usually doesn't have to look back. He can just sort of watch the ball as it floats off the table.
I mean, it's easier to pull off a shot like that at 6-0, right? So,
right.
But yeah, you're right. The forehand to forehand would certainly have given CHUANG a bigger advantage, because at the moment, JEOUNG's just all over the backhand. It's very impressive.
Even something to the middle on the forehand side to get him to turn before going to the backhand. Oh, can't pull off the same magic. Leaves the table open.
Just looking ahead then, Adam, and without trying to foresee anything, but what will be really interesting is if in the quarterfinal to follow here this evening, if Ma Long is successful, and if indeed JEOUNG goes through here, it'll be fascinating to see if that develops into a backhand-to-backhand battle, because Ma Long is a master.
Although if I had to pick a quality, with 10-0, where's the exhibition point? 10 match points? Okay, so he's giving him the mercy point. Let's see if Chhuani pops it up here. We've seen him play exhibition. Wow. I'm speechless, Johnny. I mean, it seemed like he was re-gifting. Mercy point, okay, the sportsman thing to do is to put the next one back in the net as well, because you gave me the one before. I don't know if I've seen it done like that before.
Maybe he's just completely gutted that he did 2-0 lead and suddenly he's going out 4-2, and there it is.
I mean, that is, that just seems so clearly intentional. Wow. Well, JEOUNG Youngsik, what a comeback and mental toughness, 11-6 and 11-7 before winning the last two. Essentially 11-0, 11-1, gives up the gentlemanly point there, and we'll move on in the tournament. Stick around, we've got more matches coming up. Should be an exciting one with the captain, the dictator, the dragon, Ma Long, coming up just after this. You're watching the 2016 World Tour Grand Finals.